Welcome back to the Douglas Murray YouTube channel, where we delve into some of the most pressing issues of our time. Today we'll be exploring Douglas Murray's thought-provoking views on immigration in Europe, his critique of mainstream political responses, and his rebuttal to arguments about colonialism and its lasting impacts. Let's jump right in.
To the panelists to make their opening statements. First, for the motion, is Douglas Murray. Founded the Centre for Social Cohesion, which was integrated with the Henry Jackson Society, described by some as a right-winger. He's also the author of several respected books, including Neoconservatism, Why We Need It. Your time starts now.
Well, thank you very much. First of all, I should just lance a potential boil, I think, that may be present. It's not going to be my contention tonight. I don't think it's going to be my side's contention that immigration is only a bad thing, that it only brings negatives. Of course, immigration has historically and can still bring some good things. Legal and illegal immigration, for instance, are totally separate things. The law is on one side and not on the other. Economic migration is one very distinct thing and very separate, for instance, from asylum. It is my belief that Europe should remain open to asylum seekers, that people who are genuinely fleeing persecution in other places should be able to find a sanctuary in Europe. So that is not one of the things that this side is going to be arguing against tonight. Of course, there has been some immigration across history on our continent. There have been Huguenots, Jews in Britain, we had Ugandan Asians. All of these things have gone on for many years, but not at all on the scale which we have seen in recent years. So we are talking about a scale that is totally different from anything that has gone before. And there's an additional point. All the politicians have got it wrong. All of them. All of their predictions have been wrong. Every time they have made a pronouncement about this, it has been wrong. In my country, we were told that when Poland and Polish workers were going to be allowed to come in, the Labour government said it'll be a few thousand, 650,000. That is an enormous magnitude to get something wrong, even for government. The recent census that's just been published at the end of last year in Britain demonstrated this. People who identify, after this massive period of mass immigration, people who identify themselves as white British people are now a minority in their capital city of London. We cannot expect that this will not have political consequences, and we cannot expect that people across Europe aren't going to feel something about it.
Douglas Murray argues that while immigration can bring benefits, recent large-scale migrations differ significantly from historical examples. He warns of political consequences as demographics shift, particularly in London. How should Europe address these changes?
If you become a minority in your own city, you are going to feel something about that. Of course, there are not only bad things that come from this, but there are some distinctly bad things that come from it. We have the problem, additionally, when migration happens at this speed, of the problem of integrating people. I wish it were possible to integrate people. I think it is possible to integrate people into Europe. But there is no way you can do it when you have this speed and this scale of migration. That is not when you get integration, that is when you get parallel communities and parallel lives. It is the right, I would contend, of European people, just like people from everywhere else in the world, to have an identity. To have an identity, to be able to be proud of it, to be able to wish to protect it, and not to be called names, including the worst names going, for having that identity and wishing to protect it. You will hear tonight, I make a prediction here. I'm not a politician, I can afford to do it. I make a prediction. The other side will tell you that nothing can be done. That mass migration is something which we're just going to have to live with. That it is impossible to deal with. I think this is dangerous. Very, very dangerous. It is a dangerous thing to say when public opinion across Europe wants something to be done, that nothing can be done. Democracies and democratic governments and classes have to respond to the desires of the people. They have to address them and they have to do something about it. We have to end the era of nothing can be done. If this is not dealt with by the mainstream, if this is not dealt with on the centre-left, on the centre-right, by people in the mainstream of politics, this territory, this ground will be given over to extremists. I very much hope that is not done. I think that we have the chance still to deal with this in a mainstream democratic way. I am not arguing, our side is not arguing that we slam, or we should slam, the door of immigration shut. I am certainly not arguing that we should lock that door. But at the very least, we need to...
Murray contends that rapid, large-scale migration prevents proper integration, leading to parallel communities. He asserts Europeans have the right to preserve their identity without vilification. Should governments push for more controlled migration policies?
I am against the motion, and I would like to say that the European Union was an ex-colonial power, so most of the countries of the Third World were exploited from us. So now we cannot say that we don't accept them, because most of their riches and their wealth were taken from us. And Mr. Voridis talked about our values as European citizens, as humans. Well, I think globalization takes them from us and not immigrants.
Douglas Murray, your response particularly to that challenge to you.
Very quickly, first of all, if I were Hassan in Syria, I would hope, among other things, that I would help to rebuild my country after the Assad dynasty had wrecked it so completely. I'd hope that I would stay and help to rebuild the country after the devastation caused by that family. Secondly, the gentleman here who said, why are you threatened by one or two people? I'm not threatened by one or two people. Nobody is threatened by one or two people. The figures I gave you showed we're not talking about one or two people. The figure I gave you at the very beginning was that people who identify as white British citizens are now a minority in their capital city. So we're not talking about one or two people, and it is very disingenuous to pretend that I was. Thirdly, the lady at the back, you say colonialism. I'd like to return the question to you. I don't deny the crimes of colonialism, not for a moment. I'd like to ask you a question. How long do former colonial countries have to be punished for then? One of the largest and most significant and longest colonial powers in history was the Turkish Empire. Do we do this to Turkey? Do we say to Turkey, you must have your identity erased as well as punishment for the past? Almost every single people in the world at some point...
Addressing colonialism, Murray acknowledges its crimes but questions the indefinite punishment of former colonial powers. He asks why similar standards aren't applied globally. Is it fair to continuously hold Europe accountable for its colonial past? Thank you for watching today's highlights. Douglas Murray's insights continue to spark essential debate on immigration, integration, and historical accountability. If you found this discussion engaging, remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more content. See you next time.